The Mount Rushmore of comic books is a term to describe who the biggest, most influential comic book characters are. Everyone agrees who the first three faces are, being Superman, Batman, and Spider Man. However, the fourth can tend to be contentious. Claims of Captain America, Hulk, Wolverine, and so on and so on, but I feel there's no real argument on who that fourth face is. That fourth face, without question, is Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is easily one of the most iconic heroes in comics and is the most iconic heroine, bar none. She's DC's number 3 and has influenced women, both real and fictional, all across the world. So, why doesn't she get the same level of respect as the other three? Superman has 8 feature films, 6 television series, and 7 video games. Spider Man has 11 feature films, 14 series, and around 40 video games. Batman has a lot. Hell, even beyond the big ones, indie characters and projects have become very popular. Invincible has a series, a special, an upcoming film, and an upcoming video game. The Boys has 3 series all to its own, and Hellboy, despite each entry being worse than the last, has 6 feature films. Wonder Woman, however, only has 2 feature films, 1 television series, and no video games. Why is it so disproportionate? Why is the Princess of the Amazon so underserved in adaptation? Well, there's one very obvious reason and one less obvious reason connected to the first one. The first is she's a woman, and despite comics preaching progress and acceptance, the comic book industry and community still have a lot of misogyny. Which then brings us to reason 2, mischaracterization, due in large part to misogyny. Not always, but in large part. And this mischaracterization makes it so that those who are willing and eager to accept a female superhero, a woman led story, are not willing to accept Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman in modern media tends to be portrayed as overly emotional or quick to anger, or very ditzy and naive, or distrusting and discriminatory, or cold blooded, or just a murderer. These are things that make absolutely no sense and are wildly inaccurate to her character, since Wonder Woman's character core is that of compassion. She's supposed to be compassionate, kind, understanding, and above all, inspiring. Let's start with the big one. The piece of media that I feel started the trend of mischaracterizing Diana of Themyscira. Injustice. Injustice is supposed to be a simple Elseworld what if, asking what would happen if Superman turned evil. A concept that in modern day has become so overplayed and tiring that a purely good Superman is now a fresh idea. Within Injustice, Wonder Woman joins Superman's regime. Already a bad sign because the normally compassionate and truth seeking Diana would never do that. But whatever, let's roll with this narrative. She then proceeds to encourage Superman to indiscriminately kill anyone who doesn't fall in line with his rule and actively goes off to enforce his oppressive rule and detain or murder fellow heroes. Wonder Woman, the woman who opposes the oppressive dogma and tradition placed on her by Greek gods and the Amazons, backs an oppressive tyrant who goes unchallenged due to his godly strength. Yeah, sure. If this were a more accurate version of Diana, she would not fall in line at Superman's side, but instead be the first to try and bring him down. Maybe even the first to fall in battle because she would not allow an oppressive rule to befall this world she so kindly wants to protect. She'd rather die fighting for it. How about a different universe? Maybe Flashpoint does it better, right? Well, how about a Wonder Woman who's having an affair with Aquaman and when his wife finds out decides to behead her, parade her head to the Amazons, and wear her crown like a trophy, all while going to war with Atlantis? Oh, but not on Themysciran soil. No, she wars on what she would call the world of man. And any poor soul caught in the crossfire is simply another enemy to be dispatched. Going as far to kill Steve Trevor, snapping his neck with the lasso of truth, a man who is normally her lover. Maybe you could argue this is defense. This was a soldier in a war, granted a war where he served neither side and was simply trying to survive, but that's just how war is at times. It's not like she committed any war crimes, right? Well, much like a Wonder Woman that will be spoken of later, she has. She killed children, forcing the hero Shazam to turn back into a child before stabbing him and leaving him dead with absolutely no remorse. Absolutely screams compassion, right? But hey, what if the character being a war criminal isn't enough? What if we actually cast a war criminal? Enter Zack Snyder, casting former IDF soldier Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman in his dark, gritty DC universe. Now, it's a bold choice to cast someone who's done what she has done to be the most compassionate, truthful, kind woman, but who knows? Maybe she can act.
Kal-El, no!
I mean, maybe that was just a bad take. I'm sure she did better in the next.
I need you to give me the stone! What happened to it?
So, our woman to inspire women is a morally bankrupt, egotistical war criminal with the acting abilities of an inebriated Tommy Wiseau after an unsuccessful lobotomy. Okay, sure. That was a bit harsh. I'd like to apologize to Tommy Wiseau for that. With so little outside media actually showing Diana of Themyscira in a positive light, or simply in an accurate one, it makes it hard to increase her stock or bring new fans to Wonder Woman comics because who wants to read the story where you're meant to root for the angry, murderous, sociopathic war criminal? But, maybe you trudge through all of the bad adaptations. Maybe you want to give Wonder Woman a shot because why not? So you decide to pick up Mainline Wonder Woman in the year 2025. That has to show you the character's truth, right? It must give you a good idea of who Wonder Woman is, correct? Tom King's Wonder Woman feels like the final nail in the coffin for the character. A terrible, poorly written, mischaracterized run on the levels of modern mainline Spider Man. However, Wonder Woman doesn't have the television, film, or video games to fall back on like Spider Man. A Wonder Woman just as mischaracterized, if not more so, than New 52, where we got a Wonder Woman who doesn't have a rogues gallery because she kills all her villains. Something you'd only say if you knew nothing about Wonder Woman, and that's coming from someone who doesn't know a lot about Wonder Woman. Now, Wonder Woman is not Batman. She is willing to kill, however, she does not immediately execute her enemies because that would lack compassion. She does have a rogues gallery. She has several reoccurring villains: Dr. Poison, Cheetah, Ares, Circe, Giganta, to name a few. But but back to Tom King and his run on Wonder Woman, where the Princess of the Amazons, Diana of Themyscira, the woman who holds no loyalties to any political power, cries curled up into the American flag. Now, while the context behind this of her mourning the death of her lover who was a soldier has weight, the visual just is not good. In modern day, heavily pro American sentiment and iconography is not a good look. Not to mention that there were so many other things of Steve's that could have been used to mourn: a uniform, a medal, a picture, even, but using the flag, you know what you're doing. And it just makes the character look worse. But hey, maybe that's just a me thing. Has he done anything objectively bad? Like tossing aside any and all development that doesn't fit his vision, including Cheetah and Diana's reconciliation? Or maybe throwing any significant side characters to the wayside? Oh, how about a poorly written villain? Are those reasons enough? With all this, it seems as if there is no good Wonder Woman content to explore, that everything nowadays is a mischaracterization and the character will be left in literary limbo. However, there is something that shows what Wonder Woman should be, what she truly is. Something good, something true, something absolute. Absolute Wonder Woman is an incredible read, possibly my favorite ongoing comic as of recording, doing for Diana what Ultimate Spider Man does for Peter Parker in showing a well developed, well written character that is true to their core and wears it on their sleeves. In the case of Diana, this core is compassion. Now, there will be slight spoilers for Absolute Wonder Woman, but I have tried to be as vague as possible while still discussing important character moments. Please read this run. I promise it's worth it. The run starts at Diana's birth, where she's entrusted to be raised by a banished witch in hell. Now, the witch shows a little interest and is ready to let the baby die, a fate that seems to be coming quickly as a reptile-like monster quickly approaches the child. However, paralleling the legend of Hercules, the baby Diana grabs the snake-like creature as it attempts to attack. But unlike the legend, instead of killing or harming the creature, the young Diana scolds it like a parent, treating it sweetly instead of with violence. behavior that would continue as she would befriend and adopt small monsters all over her island. This behavior grows as she grows, not wanting to kill or even fight monsters if she doesn't have to. Able to communicate with most creatures through all speak, she offers them a chance to leave the fight, showing a lack of desire for violence. She'll even make this offer if she's unaware if the creature can actually understand her. Now, this lack of a desire for fighting does not mean she's unwilling. Her compassion simply just extends to all, and when she makes her way to the world of man, she feels a need to protect it. More than willing to face beasts stronger than her, telling soldiers, allies, and her own mount to flee the area, wanting to ensure their safety while fully expecting to fall in battle. She's more than willing to sacrifice herself for the well being of others. She's even gone as far as cutting off her own arm to use as a catalyst for a spell to send Steve Trevor home. As a warrior, her dominant arm is her greatest asset. However, to her, it would be unfair to keep a relatively normal man in hell if she had a way of getting him out. She also caters to the feelings and mental well being of those she protects, not wanting to cast complicated magic before an audience as she feels it might scare them, being a new unknown thing. She states, "New things are often scary." Before her spell is even fully cast, however, she gives the public a heads up, asking for their patience and understanding in her efforts to save them, aware that, even with her previous precautions, the results of the spell may put them into a panic anyways. So, she kindly requests that they care for each other, stating, "Kindness and compassion are all that will save us now." This makes it so that those she helps feel good, calm, hopeful, even in a world devoid of hope. Even when put in frustrating situations, she still acts understanding and compassionate, shown when, despite her evacuation orders, the Air Force arrives to battle the monster and shoots missiles at it. Missiles that soon get deflected and sent back towards the city. Luckily, Diana's able to stop them, but nonetheless is angered by this, so she flies right up to the pilot and kindly requests he not do that again. A request he accepts and fulfills. Despite being a warrior, she cares so deeply about life. Shown as once she gets a weapon she finds cruel, she does two things. Firstly, she apologizes to her mother who crafted the tool for thinking her cruel, and secondly, comes up with a way to use the weapon on herself instead of her enemy to avoid unnecessary cruelty onto others, including monsters. Her love for life goes further as she meets the wildlife of man's world, mesmerized by simple pigeons and doves, speaking highly of them. It even extends to that which is not pure, as upon meeting iconic villain Dr. Poison, she shows concern for her state and well being, asking if her government made her into what she is now, despite the fact that seconds ago, Dr. Poison was committing acts of harm against the innocent. Diana always does her best to get all the information she can within a conflict. This is shown as when she finds a monster violently killing other monsters, she stops it non-violently and uses her lasso to learn the monster's truth. Upon doing so and seeing it as fighting in defense, she apologizes and offers to help. Diana only ever tends to fight in defense herself. Even as a child, when the goddess Artemis challenged her, she refused, even when attacked. That is until the goddess attempted to attack a random animal, leading Diana to begin to fight to defend the creature. The gods themselves are taken aback by Diana's compassion, unable to comprehend it, as although they did bestow a certain degree of kindness to her, this is beyond anything they could have designed. She frees prisoners and stays behind to free more, even if one by one. She'll strike deals with monsters when possible to achieve goals without harming anyone. Even when confronted with those who have tortured and killed, she makes an effort to understand them and offer salvation. Her compassion is so clear to see that enemies upon meeting her quickly realize that it's the best way of getting at her. The gods consider her the best of them. This is what Wonder Woman is supposed to be: kind, compassionate, inspiring. Someone who leaves you in awe of the kindness they give, and don't confuse her kindness for naivety. She makes it clear to those she gives a second chance that she will bring them down if she must. But that's not her desire. It's not her goal. Wonder Woman's goal is to better the world and those in it. That's why she's understanding and compassionate, because she knows that good can be found in anyone if they're given the opportunity and the inspiration to do good things. So, do the best you can with that opportunity.